Well, Willie, how did the just the break go for your team? Able to get healthy and be able to get some things
I
worked
thought it
on.
went well. We were a little banged up after the last ball game, and so it gave a chance for some guys to heal up. We went last Monday, a week ago from today. We lifted and met and watched the game and put it to bed, and then we came out and we worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Had our regular practices, and then gave the guys off Friday, Saturday, and then came back yesterday.
Coach, how have you seen some of the offensive line guys progress throughout the bye week?
Health,
Yeah, health-wise.
I think pretty good. David Ndukwe, unfortunately, is going to be gone for the season. He got injured, I don't know, a few plays into the ball game, our last game, and he's going to be out for the season. But besides that, I think everybody else has gotten healthy.
Where's Jamarion Burnett health-wise?
Good. He'll be playing this week.
Willie, what have you seen from Eddie Wallace, and how has he developed, and what did you guys see from him?
He's
when
done
you're
a really
recruiting
nice
him?
job. He's got great length, and he does a super job of we call it playing primary gap, secondary gap. We're two gap teams in a lot of things that we do, but also we'll slant and angle and twist and penetrate, and he's really good at all of it. Smart football player and really, really likes the game as well. But, one of the things that I've been impressed with is just how he's able to, leverage guys that are bigger than him and be able to play long so they can't grab onto him.
Your first true road game comes after a week off. How do you talk to your team about going on the road in this difficult a trip?
Yeah, we're going to go a ways. You're exactly right. We're going to handle it everything the same as we normally do. The only difference will be we'll be on a plane for a while, and so it's going to be a long plane trip. But every time I've ever taken a plane trip with a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds, everybody's out within first 10 minutes. So they think it was a short flight, and it might have been 2 hours or whatever it was. But that's the only thing that's different. We don't want to work them too much, before we leave. When we get there, it's a business trip. We want to enjoy each other's company, but it's a business trip without question.
Willie, along those lines, with the 9:30 Houston start, does it change the pregame routine for you at the hotel, or how you handle that with like wake-up calls and such?
Yeah, we played some night games already, and we've been staying at a hotel, regardless of whether we're playing at home or on the road. So we go ahead and meet in the morning, and then we give the guys a couple hours to get off their feet, take a nap, sleep, whatever the case may be. Then we come back and do have a pregame meal, and then we have a little hype video, and then we get on the bus and we head on over. The other part that's a little different too is we're staying in Eugene and we're driving to Corvallis, so that we were flying into Eugene, and then we'll drive on over.
Willie, despite the 0-4 record for the Beavers, what are some things that they do on both sides of the ball that you have to keep an eye out on?
Oh, they've got a veteran quarterback. He started last year at Duke, started his career originally at Texas. Really throws a good ball. Got a good back. It's rushed for a lot of yards at the Division I level. They've had some tough luck, and they really have. And they were in the ball game for quite a period of time last week against a very good Oregon team. So we're going to have to play extremely well. We know that, and that's something that we're chasing. That is that elusive perfect game, and we're working on trying to get better and better every single day and every single week.
Willie, on the wall, you've stressed the Cougs don't beat Cougs, and you guys are one of, I believe, 4 teams nationally through 4 weeks that have not given a turnover away. What do you attribute that to, and in terms of maybe in practice? Well, how do you stress?
Well, we emphasize it, and we emphasized the heck out of it last year too. And when that wasn't the case, very many games. It's interesting. Last year, we won 4 games, and the 4 games we won, we were plus turnover takeaway margin. 8 games we didn't win, we were minus. So I harped on that throughout the spring and summer, and about how important that statistic is. And I believe 91% of the games since I became a head coach in '93, we've been +1 or better, we've won. So we just stress it every day in practice. Making sure we have proper ball security in everything that we do, and then we also really stress, getting the ball out. We call it takeaways; they're not giveaways. And if we can be +1, we like our chances.
Willie, Stephon Johnson's big playability. How have you seen his connection with Connor sort of develop and his patience?
Yeah, I thought Connor's thrown a couple of really good deep balls for him, but you got to catch it and you got to get loose. And Stephon's done an excellent job of that. And we got some other guys I think are deep ball threats. You want to attack the field, vertically and horizontally, and we haven't done a great job of attacking the field vertically, and we have with those plays with Stephon. Amari Thomas has had some plays. Tanner's had some plays. When you're able to do that, you're able to really also, complete balls, open up some seams and creases horizontally. So that's big for us to be able to get guys behind the coverage and complete those big, long balls.
Willie, looking at the depth chart with the O-line movement, Snacks McLean looks like he's moved into where David was, and then Kobe Young at receiver. What are those? I guess first, what Kobe's done early to show you, and also your thoughts on Ronald being in that spot now.
Well, Kobe's, he's got his best football in front of him. He really does. He's got good size and length and speed, and he can get in and out of breaks as good as anybody that we have. He's now getting his first taste of Power 4 football. He got hurt early in the second game a couple years ago. So we're really excited about his development. And then Ronell, he's done a good job. He's lost a bunch of weight. He played at a big time program in high school, and he's been in big games before and played against good competition. And I'm talking to him on the way in today. Just every day he's got to continue to improve and just get a little bit better. And I think he's got an opportunity to be a really good player for us. He's got to just keep working on himself, athletically, and then also understanding our schemes, because he's got pretty big, quick feet for a big fella. Yeah, he did. He got hurt early, MCL, and missed the season, and did a good job of rehabbing and coming back from it.
Over 30 plus years, you have these off weeks. Have you changed your philosophy going into them or coming out of them?
No, last year we had 2 bad performances after bye weeks, and I talked to a few people, and same stuff that we've done before. I think it's sometimes it's the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's, right? I think you want to be careful about doing too much. You want to be able to give the guys some time off to kind of relax. Preseason camp, the first few weeks, first 3 weeks, we're going. We're getting after it. So I think it was good to have the time off, but we also wanted to really make sure that we put in the work during that bye week, and then today is like a Tuesday basically for us as far as practice is concerned. Tomorrow will be like a Wednesday because we're playing on Friday night instead of on Saturday. So, I've tweaked it a little bit over the years, but from the people, bless you, from the people that I've talked to and what I've done in the past, we've pretty much stayed pat with what we're doing.
Coach, with the winless Oregon State team coming up, has there been a discussion to, like, you with the staff and the players to try not to look ahead and, try not to let this team get you?
I know I've talked to you all about that before. I know I've got the ability to have laser focus on every single day, and that's I think that's been part of the reason for the success that we've had at all these different places, and and I know the staff understands that as well. One of the great things about our staff is, besides being great coaches and people, all that stuff, a lot of these guys have been with me at numerous places, or they've played for me, so they understand how we do things.
Willie, you and your staff seem to be at a ton of high school games this weekend. I mean, how important is that during a bye week to sort of take that?
You can
opportunity?
see things at a game that you can't see at, watching videotape. And, I know, it's like all the pro scouts. We had a pro guy there today. And I think our last game we might have had 10, 15, pro scouts, personnel, GMs. Had the GM from the Texans over at the game, as a matter of fact. But, I just think it's important to be out and about and let the people in this area and people that are committed to us know that we're committed to them, and just watch how they operate. It's fun to watch. I actually took my wife to a game, and she just loves Texas high school football. I mean, it's different. It really is. I've been all over the country, and it's just different down here. The organization, the structure, the coaching, the fan support. There's a couple games I was at, and they had packed house.
Hello, Coach. I just wanted to ask, how do you measure the team's success beyond just wins and losses?
Well, there's a lot of things that you really are looking at. You hope that you help these guys, transition from 18 to 22 years of age and get their first job. And those are all very, 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 very important things for us. We want to be good role models and mentors to our guys. We want to help them get their first job. I know I say it all the time, but I'm proud of the fact I might have had 15 or 20 of my former players at our last game, and those are the relationships we want to have. But don't kid yourself. The people that come back for homecoming and reunions, they're the teams that win a bunch. I bet you the Peach Bowl team comes back all the time. You see them around all the time, don't you? I see those guys around all the time, right? So, you can do both. You can have we want to have a great winning football program, not a great winning team. There's been some teams that I've seen have won a bunch of games, and I haven't thought much of them because of the way they operate and how they do things.
Willie, if I could go back to the travel part of things, it used to be where a game like this week would be like a non-conference game, but you've also got trips this year, like you go back to Arizona State. Next year you go to West Virginia. Is that, with the way conference realignment goes, I mean, are these sort of the new travel?
Yeah, it's the new norm. I was talking to, did Rutgers play at Stanford? Is that correct? Or is it the other way around? I'm not sure, but that's a long trip. You know what it beats, though? It beats getting on a bus in Brenham, Texas, and driving up to Miami, Oklahoma on one day, and then getting off the bus and playing the game. Right, playing it. Luckily, it was a night game, so we didn't have to leave incredibly early. So I tell our guys all the time, we're really lucky. We get to fly first class. We eat unbelievably well. We stay in a great hotel. There's nothing to whine about. This is outstanding. This is unbelievable. And then the other bad thing about that trip, I drove the bus. So that was also, now I don't have to drive any bus. I sure as hell ain't flying a plane.
Willie, as you mentioned, Murphy's had a lot of success at Duke. Have you seen flashes of that when you look at him?
Yeah. He's got a really good movement. He's got a quick release, very strong arm. It's like we talked about before. You get in a new system, and it takes a little while to get the pieces together. And it's as I've always said before. The quarterback gets too much credit when things go great, gets too much blame when things don't go well. But he's a very, very talented quarterback without question. They got, we're going to have to play at a high level defensively against these guys.
Willie, one of your keys to the game, control the run game, control the clock. You guys have done a good job at that throughout the season so far. Running efficiently. How has having that much depth in the running back era helped you greatly?
It helps us big time. Rashawn got injured, and he's a very good football player, and we're fortunate that we got some good depth. And then also, Jamarian Burnett didn't play last week, so we were down two really good players at one position. So the other guys got to pick the slack up, and Stacy and Dean and DJ, they did that, and we will have Fat Burnett back this week, Jamarian. But yeah, you got to have depth. That's a tough position. You always, the NFL, I think a lot of teams, they keep 4 receivers, some teams 5, but they always keep at least 3 backs, and most of the time they're only playing with one of them, but you need to, it needs to be a competitive room. And I got Ed up there with, control the running game, control the clock. We've done that early. We're one of the leading teams, time of possession. And you got to be able to run the ball in order to do that. You got to be able to stop people run the ball in order to do that. But it really opens up the passing game big time. And if you can stop people running the ball, it eliminates one half of their game, and you make them one-dimensional. And so that's why we emphasize that so much.
Speaking of rushing, Connor Wegman with his dual threat ability, both as a passer and as a runner, do you think his running ability also takes away pressure from the running backs because he can make big plays on the ground as well?
Yeah, without question. I've talked about it a bunch of different times. Just about it allows you to play 11-on-11 football. And when the quarterback can't run, he's handing the ball off, and they still got to have somebody on him at times. There's some teams we used to play that we didn't even think that was we were hoping he'd pull it and run it. But when you got a guy who's got the ability that Connor's got, Zion's got, Austin Carlisle's got, you better pay attention to those guys. You better play the dive and the quarterback. Because those guys will pull it and run it.
You can take inventory now through 3 games, outside of the ball control and the limiting turnovers. Is there anything else that's kind of jumped out at you that you've liked about your team? Maybe on the defensive side?
Well, I know I've talked about tackling. I think we've done a pretty good job tackling, and pretty good job of playing with leverage. I know that sounds simplistic, but when the ball crosses your face, we keep track of that, and that's where the big plays occur. And I think the ball crossed our face 3 times last week for 40 yards. And if we just kept it on our inside shoulder or our outside shoulder, depending on the leverage we had, that's 40 less yards they have. So that's big, but that's pretty good. Because they're trying to cross your face. So I think we've done a pretty good job of leverage, pretty darn good job tackling. But like today, we work on leverage everything that we do competitively against the offense, against the scout team. But we also worked on tackling for 15 minutes today. I don't know if there's other teams that work on tackling as much as us. We pride ourselves in being good tacklers.
Yes, and I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. Earlier you mentioned about creating a program to better your student athletes. What do you think makes UH's football program stand out compared to the rest?
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of things. I was at my last institution for 8 years, and we graduated every guy who went through the program. I think that's pretty unique. So I know that everybody, this new age of football, we're still doing things the way we did it before. I'm not going to change.
Willie, you mentioned when you looked at how you did things during the bye week that you looked at how some other coaches did it. Is there a group of coaches you sort of talk to a lot and sort of bounce ideas off?
Oh, I talk to a lot of different guys. A lot of them aren't in football anymore, but I talk to a lot of guys, and I just kind of looked at the way I've done it. I got a pretty good record other than last year from coming off a bye. And in my career, I don't know what it is, but I do know. I think it's 15-9. Is that right, Fletcher? Something like that. But it's just you got to just have attention to detail. And there's things, you get a chance to work on things you don't get it. Like we worked on all sorts of different variations of punt protection last week that we may or may not have to utilize throughout the season. We worked on a lot of, hands team responsibilities with our guys. We had a rep in the our last ball game, and I don't like the way we got fortunate that we got the ball, and so we worked on that for 10 minutes last week. We worked on variation kicks, with our kickoff team. So we worked on a lot of different things. Fakes. Worked on a lot of fakes. We defended fakes. Threw some fakes at our guys with our field goal block team and our punt block team. So just a lot of things. Those are things that you work on in the summer, preseason camp, and then the first 3 weeks we weren't really able to work on that very much, and we worked on it this past week.
Willie, how did Ice Cream Tuesdays come about? Is that from an old
We had
stop?
Snowball Tuesday at my last place, and so we switched ice cream coming over here to H-Town. So we just something for the guys to, a little reward and something that's, kind of fun to do. And who doesn't like ice cream? Yeah, Sean's a great person, and one of my coaches, Don Landholm, is one of his best friends. So that's to our thoughts and prayers go out to Sean and his family. And just a really, really good quality person, excellent football coach, but, just a great guy. And, he's a guy that I used to trade ideas with. When he was head coach at App State, we'd talk all the time and visit about practice schedule and routine and, different things. Pretty good. Thank you all.